Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of PromoMinds. I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and today we're going to be talking about a little piece of advice from a man we know as Denzel Washington. Stay tuned. More from the PromoMinds Podcast coming up shortly. PromoMinds. Promote your brand, transform your business. So this piece of advice came from when Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay was interviewing Steve Harvey. Now, if you don't know who Steve Harvey is, he is a world-renowned actor, comedian. He used to have the Steve Harvey TV show. I don't think he's been in any movies. If he has, nothing really comes to mind. But I do know the Steve Harvey TV show. It was big back in the day. And that's where Cedric the Entertainer, he was on that show as well. Anyways, he shared this story where him and Denzel Washington were going to an event. And just before they walked in the doors, Denzel turned to him and said, "Steve, you're about to learn the difference between a movie star and a TV star." And Steve looked at him a little perplexed and asked him, like, "Well, what do you mean?" And Denzel said, "You see, a movie star, they tend to have more respect for, more admiration for, because in order to see me, they have to get a babysitter. They have to get dressed, get ready. They have to plan it. They have to go to the theater, pay $25, $30 just to see me. Whereas with you, a TV star, you get invited into their house every single night. They know you. They are familiar with you. You're like a guest in their house. And so just notice the subtleties." And as they went into the party, the first interaction was with Denzel. And people were coming up, "Oh, hello, Mr. Washington, thank you very much for all that you do," and, blah, 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 all that prestige. They look at Steve Harvey. "Steve, what's up, man?" And it was a completely different dynamic. And so hearing that, relating it to today's topic, what I want to talk about is creating a video series for your industry, and how a client or a prospect is essentially inviting you into their house, and it just that subtle, unconscious building rapport just by answering some questions and having them invite you into their home. Now, for a video series, this is one of the easiest things, simplest ways to get that sales funnel going. And this comes from my days in the pool industry. I would pay attention to frequently asked questions. Not the kind that people tend to jot down of like, "I want to answer this question. I've never heard it in my life." My customer could care less. Maybe a little bit they care about, but how many times have you gone to a frequently asked questions page and you're like, "I would never ask any of these questions"? That's what I mean. To actually pay attention to questions that are asked repeatedly by different people. That's the sort of thing that we're talking about here. And one of the things that we would get asked almost daily is we would have end customers, homeowners calling us, asking us which liner pattern would look the best in their backyard. Now, as you can tell from just driving around or walking around a neighborhood, you tend to see different styles in backyards. So it's very much a personable experience. It's like going to an art museum, and you might look at something going, I don't see the beauty in that, but another person beside you is just in love with it. That's the kind of thing that happens when selecting a liner. And so for me, if I could answer those questions, one, it was annoying to get asked the same question like that on a daily basis when really the answer is it's up to you, the end customer. But what they needed was they weren't asking us to decide. What they were really asking for is, I don't know what's going to look good in my backyard. Can I have some examples to look at so I can see what relates best in my situation? And so what I did was I gathered, as much as I could, gathered the photos that we have or had on record. Some of them were like 15 years old. And I compiled just short little videos. I aimed for 1 minute long, just in case, we wanted to put them as Instagram reels. And a lot of the video content a few years ago, that 1 minute mark was kind of what you needed to do. And so I put them in these 1 minute videos, talked a little bit about the color and maybe a couple little features, and put it out there, put it on our YouTube page. Well, that, I believe, was at the start of 2020. And when the pandemic hit and the pool industry just absolutely exploded, those videos really took off. And checking on them, a couple days ago, all of them have, a couple thousand views. Some of them, there's one that has like 11 or 12,000 views by now, which for a company that's, typically generating maybe 30 to 50 views on, just a simple video, or even a couple hundred views, when you 10x that or 100x that, like, that's a really good thing. Hey guys, if you're into hiking at all, I highly recommend subscribing to my YouTube page, Steve Leslie Hikes. That's Steve Leslie Hikes on YouTube. I have a lot of content on there from some of the crazy hikes that I've been on, including Angel's Landing in Zion National Park. And it'd be really cool to connect on there. So please check me out. Thanks. So taking that concept and just creating just a video series with whatever industry you're in, creating a video series, try to come up with 5 to 10 videos that you could create, even if they're like 1 to 2 minute videos that speaks directly to customers, and you can provide specific examples so that people can, get a better understanding on what it is you're talking about, just to give them that information. That's going to build a lot of trust for you. All of a sudden, you're going to become the expert in that field, and a trusted expert at that. And specifically speaking on this is a topic that I was thinking of in the last week here, specifically when it comes to insurance and personal finance. There's an industry where the typical person just thinks of sleazy car salesman, and what they really want is they want a solution. They want not just a solution, one that they believe in, one that they can trust, and they want to deal with someone that they trust. Because there's a lot of people in a lot of different areas, but specifically in that industry, you're talking about people's livelihoods, people's retirements, and if they don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. And so to build that trust, creating just a simple video series would be ecstatic. I did a little research in, the Simcoe County, Midland area, and I came across one person who has done a video, or at least that's what populated on YouTube, that has done a video. It wasn't even them that put it on. It was the library interviewing them. And so one is better than none, but that's a resource it's a free resource sitting there waiting for you to tap in. And here is, if you're in the insurance personal finance industry, here is a niche market for you. Okay? Single mothers. If you're a female in the insurance personal finance industry, single moms can use help. And I'm speaking on this because, I was raised by a single mom. And I know that she can be, a bit of a worrier, but also very, leery, I guess, and for good reason. And so if you can create a video series in that niche where you explain different products, different services, what they are, how they are beneficial, and even if you got to do this outside of your company that you're representing, it would be way more beneficial from a trust factor just to sit down and talk about it, and just, here's the benefits, here's the good, here's the bad, this is what it is. And that way, when you put it out on YouTube, YouTube is the second highest search engine next to Google, which is also, like, YouTube is owned by Google. So people either jump on Google, type in, how to do whatever, and whatever populates, they go there. Or if they want to see like how to or specific examples, the next thing they're going to do is go to YouTube and actually watch someone explain it. And so jumping on that's just an extra resource that, takes an afternoon to do, but could generate, a lot of leads for you. And you pay attention to it. There'll be people that will ask questions and maybe reach out because of it. And all they really want is further explanation on a product. That's great. But keep in mind, this is building that trust. And going back to the start of this podcast, that's the whole notion of being invited into your customers or prospects' household, which builds that trust, builds that rapport. They think of you, they feel like they know you a lot better. And you just subconsciously build that trust with them simply by answering some questions that you're likely going to get asked anyways. Another idea, another topic for your video series in any industry is just, you have the frequently asked questions, but then to explain your process. Because if I like you and I want to do business with you, what is the next step? Or what are the next steps? Take me from, inquiring about your service or product to the transaction happens and my problem has been solved. Take me through that whole process and do it in a manner that's, not an elaborate 20-minute video. Make it seamless. Make it simple, easy, so that in the customer's mind, they can see themselves as a customer. And it takes away that uncertainty. You take away the uncertainty aspect, and a lot more people will know exactly how you want them to proceed and how they can go about getting what they want. And ultimately, you're just building trust and you're building your own personal brand. And by doing that, by creating a video series and by getting invited into people's homes, you don't even have to do the work after that. It's something that you do one time that can generate, leads over and over again. There's people that, like, I know I personally have watched YouTube videos from 11 years ago. That's the only social media platform where people put out content one day and, a decade later, it's still populating in people's searches. So you don't see that on Facebook. You don't see that on Instagram. You don't see that anywhere but YouTube. Yeah, you personally might have your own memories pop up on Facebook that you can share. But for a prospect to go from, not knowing you to all of a sudden learning from you and possibly engaging with you in communication, walking down that sales funnel, it's an easy way for you to, maybe not easy, a simple way for you to, just put another line into your pipeline. So I hope that's been of value. Thank you for tuning in to the PromoMinds Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of PromoMinds Podcast. I'm Steve Leslie, and if you want help crafting your message or sharing your story, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. Love coming up with ideas, and we can have a nice chat. So reach out to promominds@gmail.com and I'll respond. Take care.